Madison, Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Riley Yauk and Pablo Iglesias, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines. Can they catch him? No! The Badgers answer instantly.
There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game.
Gordon again! Inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line.
Legacy cemented. The 2021 Badgers will go down in history as the first ever at Wisconsin to win a national championship.
That is the best college sports town in America.
That is right, and we are just exactly a week away today. It is the Jump Around, a Badgers-dedicated show. I am Pablo Iglesias. Joining me is Riley Yauk here, live at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison, across all of the ESPN Madison channels here on YouTube. We're also live on Twitter, too. Shout out to our team for getting us here live across social media. Jim Rutledge, who is usually with us, is on assignment today. We will have him next week, though, and boy, do we have a great show to get ready for kickoff between Wisconsin football and Miami of Ohio. Exactly 7 days from now. Before we get into our full format of the show, we will talk a lot of football, everything, but we do want to address some serious things that have been coming up in the news surrounding Wisconsin women's basketball. Former Wisconsin women's basketball players have officially have put out that they are suing Marissa Mosley and the school for psychological abuse. Now, we won't be getting into more of the opinionated side. We want to give you the facts. We want to let you know everything that is going on as we learn in this situation. 5 former players have said that they have suffered mental and psychological abuse under former Badgers coach Marissa Mosley. Just unfortunately heavy stuff. There's no other way to put it. The word that I think we can all agree on is it's disheartening. And whether or not, if you've read the 51-page complaint that has been issued by 5 former players that is named Marissa Mosley, the University Board of Regents, and Justin Doherty, the former Associate Athletic Director for External Communications, and also some team administrators who were part of this, who have been named in this 51-page complaint of the 5 former players. And it's just, again, disheartening situation where it says here, as I'm reading off from Front Office Sports detailing some things, that the suit says Mosley trapped players in, quote, nearly daily one-on-one meetings about their personal lives and just prying into some things that just didn't feel like that a lot of players were comfortable with. So again, just disheartening is the word from there. So that's what we wanted to just address out there, is that we're aware of the situation and again, thinking about everybody. And if these allegations do come out as true, it is just it's just very sad to hear, and you don't really expect to know what's next from there. And Front Office Sports, also to read from there, did reach out to the university, and the university did reply saying, "We take seriously our responsibility to look after every student athlete's well-being. Any concerns put forth by our student athletes are treated with the utmost respect and care. The university will not comment on pending litigation other than to say that we disagree with the allegations of wrongdoing and will defend the lawsuit vigorously in court." Look, we're not going to say here figure out what's right, what's wrong, and talk about this situation from there. We want to just put out the facts. We want to let everybody know that we are aware of the situation, and if there's more information as we go, we're just thinking about everybody that is affected in this, and we're obviously thinking about everybody that again, that's just been a part of this process. Marissa Mosley stepping down too for, quote, citing personal reasons too. This wasn't that she was fired from this, stepping down for personal reasons when this report had come out. So again, just a tough situation right now for Wisconsin basketball and the athletic department. We did talk with Jim Polzin earlier, Jim Rutledge and I, of Badger Extra, gave us a lot of interesting things as they continue the reporting. But as we mentioned too, on the lighter side, we do want to get into our regular format of the show. And what we also talked with Jim about too, as we get into this, first week of football season. So let's get it going. So as we said, getting onto the lighter side, we are 1 week away from football season. Riley Yauk once again joining me behind the glass at the Everlight Solar Studio. Riley, man, You are sporting quite the uniform here too, and it seemed like we had some spoilers. Social media and everything was buzzing, but nobody was buzzing more than you probably with this new uniform announcement.
No, I'm so fired up. Me and Jim talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said verbatim, I want more Bucky on the uniforms. Specifically, I want Bucky on the sleeves. And what are we getting? An exact replica of these uniforms in the modern cut with Bucky Badger on the sleeves. Let's go.
This is Yaukstradamus.
I'm so fired. I'm so excited when I saw that. I saw the leaks yesterday. They already put out the jerseys for sale at the UW bookstore, so I was a little spoiled. But once I saw that, I was like, yes. We're so back. Badgers 12-0 now, probably.
We are back, and as we saw for the first time since 1990, Bucky is going to be on a Wisconsin alternate uniform. This will be on the October 11th game, I believe, against Iowa.
That's
Iowa. Homecoming week. That is
statement
going to
game.
Be statement game. Well, it feels like what isn't a statement game on this schedule?
That's
honestly.
fair. We'll get to that later.
Yes, we will get to that in a little bit. We've got a lot to talk about, but focusing on the uniforms right now. This is exciting. I love a uniform drop, and whether or not Wisconsin and their alternate uniforms. But let's take a look and see like what this all looks like too for those watching on the YouTube stream here on the ESPN Madison YouTube stream of what these alternate uniforms look like.
There's no doubt about it. The football season brought excitement to Wisconsin. They roared their approval, knowing this could be something big.
Fire me up. That was actually the first time I had seen this video. I've seen the pictures, I saw the media release, and we used some of the photos, but that's the first time I've seen this video. I love a good hype video. This is going to get me ready to go. And I love that Riley Yauk, again, strolled in, is this pretty much is as close as it gets? Is this nearly the exact same uniform that they're going to be rocking?
Yes, the only difference is that I believe this jersey, me and Chad Hopper, one of our marketing and sales teammates here, was researching the background of this specific jersey, and this is a 1987-88 model of probably Brian Anderson, who's number 88 at the time. This is authentic. This is from the era. Only difference between this one and the ones the Badgers will be wearing as their throwbacks is that there's an outline, a white outline surrounding the numbers. But outside of that, it's about exactly the same.
So what is this? 35 years is much too long, or based off of what the alternate uniforms. We've seen how Wisconsin has rolled out some of the alternate uniforms, but they haven't had the most success right now. Riley, where are you at right now with this? I know that you were very heated with where Wisconsin stands in the alternate uniforms because the last thing I remember is when Wisconsin rolled out the Notre Dame uniforms, the Shamrock Series, and how hyped that was, and they were under the Camp Randall sign, and then all I could think about is when they just got pushed out of Soldier Field, and that was the ugliest fourth quarter I've ever seen in Wisconsin football history. And unfortunately, I have seen some rough games over these 4 seasons that I've covered this team, and I will never forget that one. Watching the College Game Day crew, everybody from Fox Big Noon Kickoff, just grimace. And then you see Brady Quinn and Pat Connaughton jumping around in the end zone, celebrating this, and that just added. That's not even adding salt to the wound. I have no idea what. It's just a huge dump truck of salt into one small wound. That's what that pain felt like being on that sideline. So I don't know. I'm indifferent. I love the look. It's just a matter of now, can you win the game now and look good too?
I think we can all agree. Ultimately, winning games, people care a lot more about that than looking good. But there are a lot of Badgers fans out there like myself that want the Badgers to look maybe a little better than they currently do while they're winning said game. So I did some research. Uniforms are my thing. I love alternates, and I get extra excited when my teams roll stuff out like this. So I did a little research into the Badgers' record with alternate uniforms. So let me run you through this real quick. Since 1991, I got the sheet right in my hand. The Badgers are 8-4 in alternate uniforms if you count the red helmets, both the ones that just had the white stripes and the white face mask, and the black stripes, the white in the middle, and the black face mask.
So for our audience here, for our fans here, white helmet alternate uniforms, they don't count. Is that what we're saying here, or are we saying...
Nope, I'm saying if you include the red helmets, because I am not including red pants. They were an alternate back in, 99. They busted them out special for the Rose Bowl. I understand if back then red pants were alternate.
The red pants were sweet when they look this
sweet.
up now. When they rocked New Mexico State 66-7.
Exactly. But since 2021, 2022, red pants have just been a normal part of the wardrobe.
Okay.
They cycle them through constantly throughout the season, so they're not alternates anymore. That's a standard part of the wardrobe. Same thing with the white face masks on the white shell. That was an alternate in 2015 when the Badgers traveled to play Iowa. That was the first time they busted out the white face mask, all-white Stormtrooper look. It looked awesome. They didn't
all-white Stormtrooper look.
Didn't do it the rest of the year. That year was an alternate, but now it's become the standard. So I'm not counting white face masks as an alternate uniform. So there's my criteria. Outside of that, everything that's different counts. Badgers are 8-4. Getting into the nitty-gritty here.
Let's do this.
The Badgers, if you don't count the red helmets, are 2-4 wearing alternate uniforms. But if you want to look more on the positive side with these bad boys, they're 2-1 in throwbacks. So positive, good record.
Good stuff.
0-3 in non-throwback alternates. Anytime the Badgers have tried something new that hasn't just been the standard uniform, they have failed. That includes, you have the Big W uniforms against Colorado. These beauties.
Ooh.
That low-key, I'd love to see a modernized version of this too. But I think with the history, we're never going to see that. They got blown out by Colorado. That's never happening again. Then you have the throwbacks against Bowling Green from 2005. But again, Badgers win. Throwbacks. Then you go all the way to 2012. You have the Rose W. You can barely see it in Jared Aberderis' helmet here. But the Rose imprint inside the W, I love that. So cool.
Those were nice when they got to have those. When teams went all out for the Rose Bowl. Obviously, it's different now because of the football playoff, but it was sweet when Wisconsin was able to. Didn't they have Bucky with the rose in his mouth too, or am I making that one
he
up?
had a big old rose patch on his sweater.
That's sweet, man. I love that.
Yep, don't have a picture, but you remember the ugly faux backs against Nebraska in 2012. That's their one loss in a throwback uniform. Those were the worst things ever. They wore red helmets 7 games from 2013 through 2014. Then they were retired after the Gary Anderson era. Did well in those. They had the 150-year anniversary throwbacks against Northwestern. Here's the red helmets, for example. And then
I like the red helmets. Bring that red helmets
back.
back.
I love the red helmets. And then you have the Shamrock Series against Notre Dame. We just talked about that. So, Pablo, ran you through the research. 8-4 overall, 2-4 if you don't count the red helmets. Do you think Wisconsin alternate uniforms are bad luck?
A
lot of people do.
Call me crazy. I might be on the train with you that maybe, just maybe, that no red helmets. As much as I want the red helmets to be back, maybe, just maybe, you're onto something here. The alternate uniforms, at least from my... but we're saying no, the red jersey, red pants, that's not an alternate.
That's not an alternate,
See,
nope.
because I thought that was an alternate, and I was going to be on board where I'm like, I feel like I'm 500 in these games where I haven't seen the standard uniform, but okay.
No, it sounds like you're 0-1.
I'm 0-1. a significant 0-1. We're not going to talk about the point differential on that one.
On the fourth quarter.
Yes, that was bad. I still feel like I have nightmares from that one, honestly. I really do. Go with it. Go with your heart. I would say I almost like it because when I look at the basketball uniforms too, I don't think that they're bad luck. I like the...
No, that's the thing. No one has any problems with the basketball team busting out alternates, but then Wisconsin tries to throw it back, and everyone's like, oh, why are you trying to look like Nebraska? Oh, these are lame.
It just feels like that we're trying to make something out of nothing. Let's have fun with it. Let's roll with the alternate uniforms. I don't think they're bad luck, honestly. That just feels like it's a stretch to me. So
thank you.
Ride with the. You're welcome. You're welcome for the validation there. Thank you for the research that you have done here, Riley. This is basically like the Tim Kurkjian, essentially, of these stats here that you have gone. The Badgers are, what was it? You count the red helmets. You don't count the red helmets. This is some good stat stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I care deeply about uniforms, especially for the Badgers, and I want them to experiment and do more. Like a lot of people were hoping this would be a black uniform.
That would be nice.
That would be sick. I'm totally on board with that. But I don't know if we'll ever get it. We'll see.
Your final words real quick on why you feel like that they're not bad luck. Final summary, go.
They're not bad luck because they're not. The Badgers are 8-4 in alternate uniforms. They're not bad luck. It evens itself out. And maybe if the Badgers wore more alternates, then you'd have a bigger sample size, and they'd win more games. If you only wear alternate uniforms in your biggest games against the best teams, there's a decent chance you're going to lose a lot of those. They're playing Colorado in these bad boys the year after they won the national championship. You're probably not going to win that game.
Well, speaking of Colorado, to steal a quote from their now head coach, Deion Sanders, back when he was a player, you look good, you feel good, you play good. I would say they pay good in the NIL era, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
You look good, you feel good, and you play good. Come on. I know Colorado stomped all over them, but maybe, yeah, Deion's on something there with the alternate uniforms. So there we go. Whether the uniforms are the outlier or not, the expectations seem like they are all over the place right now for the national landscape and where we view this Wisconsin team. We've talked about this. We played the schedule game here on the Jump Around. We have said that we look at, I think, did we agree on 7-5? Is that what our record was?
Yes, that was the official Jump Around record prediction.
7-5 feels like it is reachable. There has to be some games where Wisconsin should potentially steal that. We'll talk about marquee wins in a little bit, and we'll talk about marquee wins as the season rolls on. But looking at the national landscape, it feels like it's all over the place right now because we've seen, even from the fan base too, the fans believing that this team could only win 3 games. We'll see exactly how this goes. But just looking across at how national writers and publications are viewing this team right now, we have The Athletic and Stuart Mandel putting Wisconsin at 4-8 at a 2-7 record in the Big Ten. 7-5 though, Sports Illustrated has them, and Wisconsin going 5-4.
For the record, Stuart Mandel is an SEC homer from The Athletic. He hates the Big Ten.
I can feel the burn here. I can feel the personal. You're saying he's a homer.
I am,
and you're coming in.
I'm a homer too. I'm just saying. I'm a homer. I can spot other homers.
Is this like a takes one to know one type of thing?
Exactly. It does take one to know one. And I've read so much of his stuff. He's a great writer. I read a lot of his stuff on The Athletic. Love his work. But he hates the Big Ten. And that's just a fact. So I don't trust him.
Well, looking at this Bleacher Report and 3 CBS writers having Wisconsin at 11th, no record here. 12th by 2 CBS writers, and a 5-7 record from Bill Connolly at ESPN, and Wisconsin having a 3-6 record. Is this a fair assessment based off of what we're seeing from the national landscape? I don't know. I feel like, and I've said this in the last couple episodes, it's that are we writing off this team much sooner than we should be? Because yes, the last 2 seasons, Riley, have not been the best. We know exactly the height that Luke Fickell came in. This was the big thing. Was it the arrival, right? It was the arrival and
the launch?
The launch, that's what it was. Yeah. You know what? I think the arrival, I think there was something, going back to my Bradley University days, that was when
like Welcome Week?
No.
The arrival?
That wasn't Welcome Week. It was when former UW Green Bay coach Brian Wardle came over. That's what it was. It was the arrival when he coached the men's basketball team. That's where I always get it mixed up. Go Braves. But the launch, we know how big the launch was, the air raid, and there's no other way to put it. Catastrophic failure. That just did not work out with Phil Longo. But I do feel like that, again, we're writing off this team much sooner than we should be. Don't get me wrong. The question marks are there. We need to see this transfer class does feel like it's very talented. And Jim Polzin, who Jim Rutledge and I talked to, we'll have his interview later in this episode, has a lot to say about this talented class. But I think he did bring up some good points too, is that they bring in a talented transfer portal class. They bring in these guys that Luke Fickell recruited and are finally getting some playing time. But it all has to come together. Now, what we'll see in the first 3 weeks is going to be a big thing for this team. But again, I feel like, and it's a mix of how the last 2 seasons have gone with, to be honest, fan apathy too. I get it. It's frustrating. This is a really interesting, changing time for Wisconsin football. The Big Ten, it's not the Big Ten West anymore. But let's not write off this team just yet.
No, I totally agree with you. And we've discussed this ad nauseum about how bullish we are and optimistic we are about the Badgers this season. But, I mean, if you're a national pundit, if you're not showing up to practice day in and day out, you're not talking to Luke Fickell every week or so whenever his availability is, you're just kind of an outsider looking in at the Badgers program, it looks like they're heading down, like a clear downward spiral. So I think this is fair right now as it stands.
So you don't see them winning. They've been teetering on the over-under of 5.5 wins.
Yeah.
Do you think...
I'm putting this on the air. I bet $50 on ESPN Bet that the Wisconsin Badgers are going to hit the over on their wins this season. I put $50 down over 5.5. I put $50 on over 8.5. I think the Badgers could get 9 wins this season. I am super optimistic about this particular squad. Is 9 wins going to happen? Probably not. But Garrett, 6 is a lock in my mind. But for someone who is just realistically looking at it with a more objective lens, the Badgers don't look that impressive right now because we haven't seen what Jeff Grimes' offense is going to look like, what Billy Edwards is going to look like in this offense, how the defense will look if Nazir Forkurian can't play. They beefed up the D-line. Like, they changed a lot of things too. So we just don't know. And we can be as optimistic as we want, but nobody knows. So we're taking the glass half full approach, and nationally, most of them are taking a glass half empty approach. So I can't blame them. I think they'll be wrong, but I see where they're coming from.
I don't blame them either. Again, it is just based off of the track record and what we have been seeing. And I'm with you on this one, though, too, is that I am the glass half full kind of guy. I am the good vibes. I want to see this team thrive. I'm sure we all want to see this team thrive. Please. I don't think anybody in Madison is hoping that the Badgers have a downfall by any means, because then that means the vibe on Saturdays just feels so different. We don't want that. We want good vibes, good times out here on Regent Street. Bring back just, it's not just you're going to the game and that's it. Like, go to the game because you're excited to go to the game. But it's just, what is this product going to look like is just my big question. Again, I feel good. I've gone to a couple practices. They haven't been the smoothest practices just because it's Billy Edwards and working with that offense and just trying to work out an injury. But it looks like he's back and ready to go. The question is now, what is going to happen? How are the transfers going to respond? I know that there was a lot of hype, too, in the first year when Luke Fickell brought over some transfers, but I don't feel like that there's much of what is it? I guess if I were to use it this way, a smorgasbord of this roster where you have guys from the Christ era that decided to stay, that didn't transfer in the first year of Fickell, some guys that came over from Cincinnati, some guys from the transfer portal, a couple of recruits, and it's just a different mix. And actually some of the recruits too that were originally Paul Christ recruits out of high school. So it feels like that this is more of a Luke Fickell roster versus there's a 25% of Luke Fickell's roster from like guys that he truly knows, guys that he's recruited, and all over the place. So again, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Question marks, but I'm leaning a little more towards exclamation points. Let's just see now how consistent these guys are going to be. So we get a little bit into the schedule game and the Marquee wins. I know, Riley, you are going to be heading down to Tuscaloosa and excited for that. Yeah, I mean, the countdown starts for you. How stoked are you feeling for that?
Oh, I'm fired up. I just still need to buy my tickets. I had a connection down in Bama.
Please
from
tell us
the
about your
last
connection
time.
real quick.
So Unfortunately, he told me some great grandpa jokes that I cannot repeat on air.
Who this person is? You need to paint the picture for us, because I loved. First off, I had said this too. Riley Yauk, for those who are new to the Jump Around a Badger dedicated show, you need to just listen for Riley Yauk too, because I feel like Riley, because you're 24. I feel like for a 24-year-old, you live the most interesting life, and the people that you come across, I swear, I don't know how you do it, but I love that you do this.
I'm fortunate. So I was down to watch one of my friends plays baseball for Mizzou. He's a Missouri Tiger. Hope he gets to the league someday. He's really good, hardest working dude I know. Every team makes the SEC tournament. Missouri was the worst team in the SEC this past season, unfortunately. But they had a first-round game against the Alabama Crimson Tide down in Hoover, Alabama, where the SEC
Here
baseball...
comes the Crimson Tide.
Exactly. Here, where they host the SEC baseball tournament. So me and my friends were decked out in some Mizzou gear, and we're walking in, and as we get out of our car... this other guy steps out of his car, and he's like, y'all came a long way. And we're like, yeah, we did. We're from Wisconsin. He's like, oh, y'all from Wisconsin? Wow, that's even farther. Y'all coming down for the game in September? And we're like, damn right we are. And then we started talking, and he was like, well, actually, I have some tickets. I know some fellas up in Wisconsin. I have some tickets available if y'all want to buy them. And we were like, all right, sure. And then he told some jokes that are inappropriate, but made us laugh a lot. He was a hilarious guy. Gary from Hoover, Alabama was hilarious. But unfortunately, just a little too expensive out of our price range.
How much are tickets going?
Nosebleeds, I think you can get them for a little under $100 right now. It's still a big game.
Yeah.
Not as big for Alabama fans. And he was telling me it's 11 a.m. kick, which brings down the excitement level a bit down in Tuscaloosa. I mean, every game's prime time for them, damn near. So I understand, but reasonable enough where we'll be able to get tickets, no problem. But he was trying to sell me some, he has really good tickets for almost $300, and just can't do that. But I'm really excited to go to Bama. It's going to be awesome.
We will see how it goes. Hopefully, I don't expect the Badgers to win. I love the optimism,
they will,
Riley. I appreciate that. I am one of the, if I'm a hater for saying that they probably won't beat Alabama at Tuscaloosa, I will happily. I don't know exactly. Maybe we need to figure out what could I do if Wisconsin. What could Jim and I do?
Yeah, we should come up with a punishment so that I'm so dead set just because I'm going to be at the game that they're going to win this game. Yeah, come up with a punishment
for you guys.
You
were at the USC game last year. How'd that go for you?
Not well. Similar-ish to the Notre Dame game you were at. Where
I don't think that was a close game. They were up they were coming. It was close. It was close. Fourth quarter.
Yeah, I guess the Badgers, they just choked against USC last year. But
yes,
neither here nor there. It's a different year, different season.
Well, the question is whether or not they come out. If it's the Tuscaloosa win, if it's we are hammering this home. We know how hard the schedule is. It is the toughest schedule according to Pro Football Focus. Hence why the Badgers are across the board, standing at 5.5 of the over/under for wins and losses. I could understand again, and even where we said with the national pundits of where they stand in terms of is this team going to even win enough games? Are they going to be good enough to make themselves bowl eligible? It is a huge question. But I am a firm believer that they have to steal at least one marquee game this season. So the big question that I'm curious about is which game and what we define as a marquee game. We feel like probably is going to be October and beyond. Let's exclude Alabama, whether it's a win or loss or not, or heck, we could even include it. What matters the most in terms of which of these marquee games? Like if Wisconsin, let's say they're at their 5 wins right now. They need one more win. Heck, probably a situation like where they were last year. They were standing at 5-2. They had an opportunity. If it was going to be upsetting Oregon, if it was going to be upsetting Penn State for that 6th win,
need one more.
Madison would have been in a frenzy. I think
they were ready to throw the goalposts into Mendota if they beat Oregon.
The map was out for Penn State. Or was it Oregon?
Oregon, because Oregon was number 1. The student section, there was a map widely circulating throughout the student body, throughout, us, we even saw it.
I think our teammate Alex Strofe, too, over at ESPN Milwaukee, we were talking about this from a content standpoint. He's like, if I were you, I don't care about what Luke Fickell has to say in postgame. I am chasing after
the mob of people that would have been
Yeah,
throwing the goalpost into the lake.
He's like, I'm walking down State Street with everybody, as close as I can get side by side from a content standpoint. Because let's be real, that's what we followed when Alabama was upset by Vanderbilt, and they were running the what's the street over in Nashville too? It's the it's where all
Broadway,
the bars,
right?
Broadway Street. So if we could have had our own Broadway Street version, unfortunately that didn't come to fruition. But let's put this hypothetical out there: Wisconsin's sitting at 5 wins. What? Out of all the marquee matchups that we're looking at with Wisconsin's schedule, let's say Illinois, Iowa, even looking at the schedule real
Ohio
quick.
Ohio
State, Oregon,
Indiana, Washington,
Illinois
Minnesota.
at home.
Almost every game outside of the first 2.
See Well, let's even get into that. If it comes down to the Minnesota game, are you thrilled or are you disappointed if it's a make or break? If Wisconsin doesn't win this game, which is where we were last season too.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. If the Badgers are 5-6 heading into Minnesota, I think they'll beat the Gophers this season. But I'm disappointed. I think they can win 7 games at minimum this year. I think they're that good. But when it comes down to it, if there's one of those massive games that I'd choose for the Badgers to win, that would be that 6th win, it'd be Ohio State. I think the Badgers are going to beat Minnesota. I think they can beat Iowa. I think Illinois is going to be really tough, but I think they can beat Illinois, Washington, Indiana. But when it comes, I'm looking at 4. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon. I'm picking Ohio State. If I can get one of those, the Badgers haven't beaten Ohio State since 2010, the David Gilreath return for a touchdown. We haven't had a signature moment against the Buckeyes since then. We played them numerous times in Big Ten championships and in high-profile matchups at the end of the season. I don't think a win over Oregon, despite their success over us in Rose Bowls, a win over Alabama, or even Michigan. We smoked Michigan a few years back. We dominated Michigan for a stretch of time.
Wasn't that at the Big House too?
Yes, we dominated them at Ann Arbor, at Camp Randall, during like the glory days of the Paul Chryst era. Like Wisconsin had Michigan in their pocket.
The last Paul Chryst game, I do remember that one was rough. That one was rough because I think it was a Chase Wolf game where he ended up coming in.
I was in the student section at that game, listening to the student section chant, "We want Wolf," before Graham Mertz got hurt.
And you got him.
And then they got Wolf, and no one was chanting, "We want Wolf," after the first drive of his taking over. And then the Michigan students took over the students. It was really embarrassing. That was a horrible game.
Yes.
But I think a win over Ohio State would mean significantly more to this fan base than a win over any of the other teams not outside of Minnesota on the schedule.
You take down the top dog. You take down the reigning national champion. I think, I mean, that's definitely got to be the one. But if realistically, let's say if it's a dream scenario, like is there another win too, or is there a different game that you feel like, or is that the game, Riley, where you feel like if Wisconsin wins, that's like the prime moment for you? Wisconsin wins and beats Ohio State for their 6th win. Like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, there's so many games where I'd probably be on top of the world if Wisconsin won this
season. Well, that's where we're at right now,
too.
But,
I mean, the storylines are so great, too. Luke Fickell against Ohio State, his old squad, reigning national champions, haven't beat the Buckeyes in 15 years. They're probably going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country when the Badgers play them. It would be awesome. It would be so satisfying to finally get a win over big bad Ohio State. And then, depending on how their season has looked up to that point, it's like, okay, now we're talking. Wisconsin's back in that conversation with the upper echelon of the conference.
Yeah, I would love to see that go down. Weird things can happen sometimes when you're at Camp Randall. We saw that Penn State and Oregon ended up coming out with the wins, but like I said, weird things can happen sometimes when you're under Camp Randall and you're under the lights. Again, we don't know if that's a night game that feels like it has all the makings that it should be.
Hope.
Fingers crossed. Well, last year's Alabama game was the 11 o'clock start, and that wasn't really the best. So,
hey, the atmosphere was insane.
That was electric for how early in the morning it was. Yes, it was. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what that marquee win is going to be for the Badgers. Hopefully, again, I feel like it's going to happen. Now the question is, which one is it going to be, and which one is going to move the needle for you? We'll talk about that as the season continues. All right, well, before we get to Jim Polzin of Badger Extra, it is time for one of our favorite segments, and that is Riley Yauk and the Wisconsin Badgers Twitter portal. Take it away.
The Badgers Twitter portal.
All right, this one feels a little different since I've already had so much airtime on this show.
Yeah.
Usually this is my time to shine. But we're still going to have some fun with the Badgers Twitter portal today, starting with your national champion, Wisconsin Badgers, ?
After all this talk, why not?
Yeah, 1912. Did you see that Auburn claimed 7 extra national titles just a few days ago? Did you see this?
I did not see this.
Wow. So Auburn...
Paint the picture. This is even worse than last week with Minnesota. What was it, as number 1?
Yeah,
in the
first ever
rankings.
AP number 1. At least that was from a legitimate source,
yes.
The AP. Auburn, in, I believe it was 7 years, I've also seen 4. SportsCenter put 4, so maybe it was just 4, but no, I think it was 7, because now they say 9-time national champs in their bio. Check it out. They've only won the national championship twice. 2 times says Auburn legitimately won a national title, and they just decided to claim 7 in years where they didn't win a title, they weren't undefeated, they didn't finish number 1 in an AP poll. None of it makes any sense. I didn't know you could just do that. Like, you can just claim a national title now? What's stopping Wisconsin? The year they lost, because Auburn did this, the year they lost to USC in the Rose Bowl, they were the number 2 team in the country. If they would have won, they'd be national champs. Wisconsin is the 1962 national champions.
Might as well.
Because they almost were national champions. Why not?
Might as well be. No, this is. Are you a fan of The Office, or are you?
I have watched The Office before. I'm not a diehard.
It's just like declaring it. You can't just say, just because you say it. I declare we are national champions, essentially, is my spin here. You can't just claim it just because you put it out there and just say, oh, we're national champions now. This is it. Or we're going to claim these other ones. Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, hey, why not? Wisconsin just claimed the 1912 national championship because they were undefeated.
Let's have the parade. Let's print out the shirts. We might as well. If we're talking about throwbacks right now, get the 1912 shirts ready to go.
Hang a banner. But, all right, a little pivot here for our next one. Matt Rule. This was just announced from On3 that he will be starting a podcast this season called House Rules. Quote unquote, I don't have to be politically correct. I can speak the truth because that's how we move the game forward. I don't know what that means in regards to college football, but how would you feel if Luke Fickell had a podcast during the football seson?
No.
Or at all?
Don't do that. Well, we've seen in different sports, we've seen what happened with Doug Gottlieb. How did that go? That did not go all that well in the first season. Did they even reach double digits in the win column?
I don't know. They were bad.
They came close.
They were really bad.
They came close to barely winning double digits in that column. No, don't do it, man. It's a cool idea in theory, but I mean, if you're going to be the brains behind this one, what are you doing? That's just creating another job for yourself when in all reality you have come to fix and bring Nebraska football back to where it's at. But talking with Luke Fickell, no, I wouldn't. I don't want him to do that. I want him to focus on the thing that he's brought here to focus on.
I'm willing to bet.
Is that too much to ask?
Fair, exactly. I'm willing to bet Matt Rule is the highest paid public employee in the state of Nebraska.
I would know. Yes, I could probably back you up on that.
And if he is worrying about his podcast, this will though. When Nebraska loses, that image is going to go crazy on Twitter, posting podcasts.
Yeah, I love it when Twitter just loves to go off on like different graphics. It's fun.
Yeah, so I would hate it. Totally agree. That just seems odd to me. But hey, it's Nebraska. I hope it leads to their downfall.
When does the first episode drop? I am curious to see.
Good question. I have no idea. We have to check. Maybe an episode's already out.
Right. How long is it going to be? What is he going to cover? It's
Maybe we should listen.
We should listen. We'll have a listen party.
Some clips.
Have Matt Rule. Why do we have Matt Rule on?
Yeah.
Even if they're not part of.
They're not even on the schedule this season.
We'll be guests.
Let's do it.
Can we be guests on the Matt Rule podcast? We'll figure that out. Let's work on that one. We'll put that in our back pockets
for sure. Last but not least, now from the official ESPN college football account, simple question: what is your favorite college football play of all time? So many to choose from.
Can I pivot to you first? I
yes,
have
I'll
one.
give you some time to think. I mean, David Gilreath kick return against Ohio State's huge.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's touchdown run for 408 was awesome. You had, this is just me personally, 2019 against Minnesota, Jack Cohn's bomb to Quintez Cephas. If you're talking all of college football, the kick six in the Iron Bowl. I remember watching that live. That was so cool. That was awesome. Speaking of Auburn, too, back when they weren't claiming national championships, but so many good ones. Hook and ladder from Boise State.
Yeah, hook and ladder. That was an insane game, too. Was that the Fiesta Bowl with Adrian Peterson in Oklahoma? I would, if I were to say all time, you stole mine, but that's a good one across the board with the Iron Bowl. I remember the national championship. When Tua got sacked for 25 yards?
Oh, that's a good one.
Was it? It was Jalen Hurts. Was Jalen Hurts in that game? Then he gets injured. Then it's in overtime, and then Tua gets sacked for a huge loss. Next play, walk-off dart to Devontae Smith, and the rest is history from there for an all-time. For Wisconsin, unfortunately, I haven't seen as many flashy plays over my years.
I know,
that I've seen
you came
the
in a
team.
bad time.
I have come at a bad time. Hopefully, Wisconsin fans do not believe I'm the curse. I want good things to happen, too, to Wisconsin. I brought a Bucks national championship. That's what I've brought along.
Thank you for your service. But yeah, maybe we may need to have the conversation.
Oh, don't do this.
It's not alternate uniforms that's bad luck. It's Pablo Iglesias.
Many are not saying, don't put this into the Badger sphere, please. Don't do this. I'm trying to think, because at least from what I can recall, when Braylon Allen just blew up and watching him just emerge as a true freshman, I'm trying to think of one of the best runs. It wasn't a long one, but it was at least, actually, it was like 90-something yards against Illinois State week 1, his sophomore season. That was pretty electric. But there was another one when he had the hat trick against Northwestern and absolutely bodied somebody. Just like, this is truly men against boys. And, man, when Braylon Allen, when he was just full force freshman season, he's an absolute dog. There's a reason why he's in the league.
Yep.
There's an absolute
Apparently
reason
he's
why.
looked good at Jets training camp, too.
He's looking good. Him and Justin Fields. Happy for him. Happy for the both of them.
You're a Bears fan, so
bear down,
that
baby.
makes sense.
Hey, Jim's not here, so I got to make sure that I hold down the fort. Well, we will get to Jim Polzin next. That has been the Badgers Twitter portal. This is the Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show. Jim Polzin of Wisconsin State Journal, Badger Extra, and at Madison.com. He is coming up next. But first, I want to talk to you about Steinhoffels. If better sleep has been hard to come by, you're not alone, and the right mattress can make all the difference. That's why Helix Sleep and Steinhoffels have teamed up to bring their award-winning mattresses to Steinhoffels. Now you can try Helix in person, something you can't just do anywhere. Right now, Steinhoffels is offering 20% off all Helix mattress orders just for our fans. Head to steinhoffels.com to learn more. Helix Sleep at Steinhoffels. Better sleep starts now. Jim Polzin coming up next.
Steinhoffels Labor Day sale is on now. Save 10% off store-wide or use Steinhoffels 36-month 0% financing. Plus, get great deals like a Sealy mattress just $199. This queen bed just $489. A dining table $599. Plus, save up to $700 on Tempur-Pedic adjustable base sets and use 60-month 0% financing. Steinhoffels is Wisconsin's furniture and mattress leader. Shop in-store or online at steinhoffels.com.
We are thrilled to be joined on the Jump Around by Jim Polzin from the Wisconsin State Journal and Badger Extra. Jim, thanks for taking the time. It's an exciting week here. A week from basically today, we got Badger football at Camp Randall. There's some serious stuff we got to get into first, but I do want to ask: are you ready for football? How ready are the Badgers for football season?
I'm definitely ready. They had a lot of training camp practices open this year, which is good. I think 15 practices open, and I was at 14 of them, which is great. But at some point, you just kind of want to see them against another opponent to be able to measure how good they are. I think they're ready to. I think the way they've been talking, I think they are anxious to get out there and kind of prove, that last season was not who they really are, and to build on that.
Yeah, and I want to get into that, but I do want to ask first about the kind of the extension and more, breaking news from the Badgers here with 5 former Wisconsin women's basketball players have filed a lawsuit that they received psychological abuse from ex-Badgers coach Marissa Mosley, and the allegations are very serious. They're horrific if they're true. Obviously, Justin Doherty was named in this, who isn't with the program anymore. But there's it's just a lot there, and it's obviously a touchy subject, but these allegations are the type of allegations that can really rock an athletic department.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to take you back a little bit. Todd Molesky and I did a couple stories in late July, somewhat related to this. There was a women's basketball element to the stories we did, but there's also a cross-country / track and field women's. And so I think I knew all along that a lawsuit was coming. I didn't know it was going to be 5 people, and I didn't know a lot of the details. The attorney had kept a pretty good secret on what was coming. Just knew that they were looking into a lawsuit. So yes, troubling, absolutely. Anytime you kind of go into psychological abuse and mistreatment, it's some of the details were really hard to read. And then that's one part of it. The other part is, and certainly that's something we reported on too, was the UW's reaction to it, or in what the student athletes would tell you, their non-reaction to it, that they had brought complaints forward and Wisconsin didn't do enough to protect them along the way. And what ended up happening, both in Marissa Mosley's case and then Mackenzie Wartenberger, the cross-country / track coach, both of those coaches resigned on their own without any, real public, the public not knowing about the why behind it or the potential why behind it. So, there's really 2 pieces to this, and disturbing in their own rights.
Yeah, Jim, real quick to talk about this too. What do you feel like is potentially next? In terms of in finding more information, talking to more sources. What, in your eyes, what do you believe is next in this process?
So I think there's a potential for, right now it's 5 plaintiffs. I think there's a potential for more coming in. That's just in general. Sometimes that happens, is when a lawsuit gets, presented. There's always the potential that we know that other athletes were unhappy, because there's players in our reporting from July that were unhappy. So I don't know if they're considering being part of this lawsuit or not. I think that's something to watch. And then UW's response, obviously, at some point they'll have to respond to this. I certainly think they will defend themselves. I don't know when or how that will look, but the very early stages of this, and there's a couple lawsuits going on right now with Wisconsin athletics. And I think the important thing for us to remember is kind of the people that are on the outside, is that we can read the complaint. It's really going to be determined by whether this goes to court or not. Cross-examination, more facts coming out. So we only know the basics right now, and all of this stuff, Xavier Lucas, Nizer Forkrian, and this will probably take a long time before we know the complete truth.
Yeah, and obviously it's, there are various degrees of seriousness in it, but it is weird now, especially if you're covering the Badgers. You almost have to pick up a law degree to figure out everything that's going on.
Todd Molesky and I were talking about this, and he's, to Todd's credit, I think Todd's one of our best reporters. I think he's one of the best reporters in the state, and really adept at handling stuff like this. And this was probably, I don't know, a couple months ago. We were in the office one day, and he's like, I don't remember what story triggered it, but he says, is this what we're going to be doing for the next 10 years or so until retirement? And I'm like, yeah, I think the more complicated college athletics has gotten, the more likely it is that more stuff ends up in court. There's just, the rules have been pushed to the limit of needing clarification. And, I think mental health in general has pushed things to a level of unhappiness with college athletics that I just think it's complicated, and you need people like Todd and others to kind of get to the bottom of the truth and explain things in a way that are easily explained.
And with the football side of things now, we'll just there's no easy transition to it, but on the football side of it, at practice, because, I've obviously on the air, I talk about being a Bears fan, and I listen to reporters there. They're like, I don't know, like every year it's going to be the year, and the Badgers aren't quite there yet as far as the down, but obviously I've read the reports and read the stuff from the State Journal, other people, and things feel optimistic. They feel different there. I had someone who is connected to a scout and said that really the practice they were at was not great. And so it really can be, the eye of the beholder. It could be just that scout was there a bad day, but how much of this is you really have to wait and see for this team, because good practices, you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly true. I mean, it's funny, the day the Big Ten Network was here, Dave Revson put out a pretty positive tweet about how much better this program looked compared to a year ago. And I'd walked out of that practice thinking it was a pretty ugly practice. Now, to Dave's defense, there was a lot of stuff that happened after they kind of left practice. The last hour of practice I thought was really, really sloppy. We saw enough of that this camp. I mean, I think there was good and bad. Sometimes it's really, really hard to tell, because if ones are going against twos, that's not the measure you're going to get during the regular season. I think there are reasons to be optimistic. I think there are reasons to be concerned. I think I'd go to something you just said, that we're really not going to know, and we're probably not going to know until October. I think there's a really good chance this team is 3-1 coming out of that first 4 games, and I don't know that that's going to tell us the full picture of where they're at. I mean, until they face that gauntlet of Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, and Oregon, I think that's going to kind of tell us more about where this program is. But I do look at this team and think there's more talent. Like, I do think they upgraded talent. The caveat to that would be that I think other teams around them have done that too. Good doesn't necessarily mean great, and I think the one thing this program's been lacking lately is great players. So I'd like to see some great players emerge. And then, going back to the kind of the Barry Alvarez thing, 5 great players and then no holes on the roster. I think I see potential holes on the roster just in terms of some areas where the depth isn't quite where I think it could be, to the point where you're a little bit concerned that if the starter goes down, then what? So I think there's reasons for optimism. I do think there's going to be signs of progress. I don't know that's going to be measured in the win-loss record.
Where do you see the biggest question mark hanging? If it's a position group, you mentioned the talent is a lot better, but there might be a little bit of a drop off. If it's coming more to a position group, where do you think that biggest question mark is for you?
My biggest concern, I have one on each side of the ball. I'll start with offensive line. I think there are some really talented players there and some really good experience. I think the depth at that spot is a little concerning. They had some injuries in camp. They're waiting on some second-year guys to develop. And again, until we see them facing other teams, it's really hard to tell. But I'm a little concerned there. If a Riley Mullman would go down, that's concerning. They've had some injuries at center. Left tackle is a big question mark. Davis Heinzen is the starter. He's a transfer from Central Michigan. I saw some things in camp that are a little worrisome in terms of protection at that spot. Now, again, going back to what I said earlier, is that a sign that he's a potential strong spot, or does that mean they just have better edge rushers this year that have presented these problems? That's going to be a positive on the defensive side of the ball. So I think offensive line is an area to watch, and frankly an area that hasn't been up to this program standard for a couple of years. So I think that's always kind of an area we look at. Defensively, cornerback depth I think is a concern. Now Nazir Fortran's court case will help determine some of that. But I think if a guy like Ricardo Hallman gets hurt, they are lacking numbers and quality at that spot. So, again, I think they've got some nice players at both those positions. I just worry that if the injury bug hits, you're left with some pretty big question marks.
You mentioned earlier, the first couple games, it could be 3-1, and it's not going to get back to the Bielema era. I don't know if that era exists anymore in college football, where you can just beat the snot out of teams to start the season. But it really feels like the Badgers under Fickell, those games that are supposed to be easy, just like Rutgers, and that's about it, where you felt, and that game wasn't supposed to be easy, but where they just handled the team start to finish. So, like, for me, the proof I need to see is in those first 2 games, like, are they just throttling or handling these 2 teams in Miami, Ohio, Middle Tennessee State? Like, those should be games where if the Badgers are a team that might be better than their record ends up being in the long run, you can look at those first couple games or the games against lesser opponents in theory, talent-wise, and say, you know what, they were able to separate themselves in ways they weren't in years past, where you felt like that was a dominant victory, it was a clean victory. And yeah, they're not as good as Alabama. Maybe they get housed by some of these other teams, but the teams that they were equal or slightly better than talent-wise, they were able to handle it. I think that's my judge for this season.
No, I agree. I think you want to feel good going into October, and I don't know if that's possible if you're kind of stumbling around like last year. You look at last year, they're chewing their fingernails in the second half of those first couple games against non-conference opponents where you really comfortably should win. So I think you're right. I think if you're a UW fan, you come out of those games feeling good about yourselves if you see stuff on both sides of the ball and you see comfortable wins and you see kind of this talent emerging and this, the systems, the schemes. I think at times last year you watched this team and you didn't know if they knew what they wanted to do, and a lack of identity. And I think if nothing else, you want to see an identity emerge. Now, the warning I would issue early on, I think offensively is what people most want to see, because new offensive coordinator, kind of a throwback in terms of what Wisconsin used to do in terms of power running, even though I think it'll look a little bit different. My warning is that I think it's pretty unfair to Jeff Grimes to expect it just to come in and hit the ground running, right? I don't know that this offense is going to score 50 points in week one. If it does, great. That's tremendous. I do think a new offensive coordinator probably means that offense will need some time to build. Now, if we see improvement from week one to week two, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then again you're feeling good going in October, then that's ideal. I just, I'm going to go in with pretty low expectations that we're not going to see a 50 burger on opening night.
Yeah, and Pablo, you can hop in with a question. I just really want it not to look like an accident when they score a touchdown, and that's kind of how it felt those other 2 years. It's like if it ends up with red zone, if it's to me time of possession, it's rushing yards, and like the operation, is it clean? Are they no false starts, the holding? And then, as it goes along, we can worry about the actual points of it. But it just felt at times last year, the whole offense felt disjointed. And at times, touchdowns and plays, everything just felt like an accident. Or if you're down 10 points, even in like the early second quarter, it's like, well, that's ball game. Might as well just wrap that up.
Yeah, this offense needs something, right? We've waited too long. This is not just a Phil Longo complaint. Yeah. I mean, even the final years of the Paul Christ era, this offense has been kind of bumbling and, just not good enough to win, frankly, not good enough to win games. So we need to see more of that. I saw encouraging signs in camp that progress is being made. I think they have a couple of nice young running backs that, if this offensive line holds up, could be good. So, I think that's reason for hope. But again, I'm with you guys. We need to see it.
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned too that fans, players, everybody across the board is really trying to figure out this identity. I talked to Rico Holman a couple weeks ago too, and he even mentioned that it felt like that they are a lot closer to really locking down that identity, and on top of that, holding guys accountable. How have you seen, just in general, like guys speak up a little bit more, leadership, accountability? Because it does feel like those last couple of years, with Luke Fickell trying to, one, get that identity, and two, you have some guys that came in as transfers, you have some guys that came in as Fickell recruits, a whole mix of this roster, and again, just trying to hold guys accountable, make sure that they buy in. How have you seen this team kind of grow together in terms of that?
They're definitely saying all the right things. I mean, I think even from media day back in, right before they went to Platteville, that was a talking point, was that, hey, we're together more. They spent more time together in the off season. Brady Collins had this thing where, if you send a picture of yourself with a teammate, not a position group, you get bonus points or something. Like I think that the coaching staff went out of its way to try to build chemistry and camaraderie, knowing that it's more difficult than ever to do that in this day and age in college football. Because like you said, there's a ton of new players on this roster between freshmen and transfers. It's really been a recycling of this roster, and you've got to build chemistry. Now, so I say that not, I believe what they're saying is true. Like I believe that they think the chemistry is better and that, the culture is better. I have no doubt. I'm not believing them, right? I don't think that stuff gets tested until adversity hits. I think that's what we saw last year, is that I think we heard a lot of positive things in fall camp last year. And then it really wasn't until November, during that losing streak, where we started to see that, hey, not everybody is bought in. And those, really the last two games in particular, the rivalry games, the Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska games, we saw this team, I don't want to say quit, but I think we did see some players not fighting the way they should. And that's on them, but it's also on the coaching staff, and it's on this team's culture that they didn't have it quite right. So I think they learned from that lesson. I think the idea of walking into a locker room every day and not seeing any trophies was gut wrenching and sickening to them. And so I think that's a great reminder throughout the offseason. But again, that's why I think October is so big, is like, they may play well in October and still go 1-3. And then what? If you're 4-4 exiting October, where are you mentally? Where are you physically? But where are you mentally? And how much buy-in do you still have at that point? Because that's when the leadership and culture is going to get tested.
Yeah, and the NIL makes it tough. And I mean, I don't think it's a secret that in year one with Fickell, there was issues too. I mean, that could be attributed to the Paul Chryst thing, but now you got 2 years in a row with Fickell with maybe some chemistry issues. But yeah, the NIL is a major part of that. And the money is going to be a major part for Luke Fickell here. But I mean, he's on every list, ESPN, The Athletic, whoever it is, of like, this guy is on a watch list of maybe possibly getting fired or on a hot seat. And then you also have half the country and half the former Badgers being like, this will work. He was great at Cincinnati. This has to work here. And you got other Badgers who are like, this isn't going to work from the second he got here. And maybe they were not in because he was an outsider, but they have a lot of fuel to that fire and they keep on getting more to it. So I don't know if this is a make or break for Luke, because I honestly felt like if this ends up ending, it's going to be the Badgers telling Fickell, like, hey, go find another job and let's minimize this buyout and Gary Anderson style, and like, let's just walk away clean on both sides of it. But I mean, for this season, I look at it that if I'm a Badger fan, I either want it to be horrible and it's obvious they just need to move off of Fickell, or it to look like a team that's like 6 or 7 wins and everything looks like really good. I don't want the middling in between, like 5 wins or even 6 wins where they're all like against the Met opponents is almost the worst place to be in, because then it's like, are we really growing? Or are we just extending this one more year and cheapening the buyout?
Yeah, 5-7 would be a tough thing to measure. Yeah. And really you got to, within that 5-7, you need more context, right? Like, do they beat Minnesota? I mean, do they get back to beating Iowa and Minnesota? I think that's important. Yep. Do they win a signature game against one of those ranked teams? Or at the very least, are they competitive? I mean, you want to see at the end of the season that, hey, there's building going on, that next year when the schedule lightens up, there's hope, right? There's hope of making a run to a potential playoff spot. I think 5-7 leaves you in a tricky spot. Anything worse than that, I think, 4-8 is a tough one too. Like, I don't know what you do, because like you said, the money is legitimate here. Like, I think it's $27 million at the end of the season if they want to get rid of him, and you can mitigate that, of course. I'm a pretty big believer that a coach deserves 4 years, especially since some of the more talented players in this roster are only beginning their second year. The 2024 class is only going to be redshirt freshmen or sophomores this year. So, cutting ties after 3 years is tough. But having said that, I think you need to kind of measure the context within it and look for signs of progress and look for signs of hope. And the eye test is going to be important, because again, like, the win-loss record might not show that there's tremendous progress being made.
Yeah, and I want to jump in real quick on this one. So like with that, for me, the eye test is a lot of, like you talked about, like last year, I know it was only year 2 of Fickell, but I was like, at the Minnesota game when the stadium's just empty and Minnesota's doing the acts, like that is, if it was further along, like if it ends this season like that, like that's where I'm like, oh, you know what? Fickell might not be long for here. When I saw that, because if you're Mac, it's in like, is there fan apathy? And then it's, our alumni and NIL not filling the coffers because they're not excited about it. And then does the team look like some of the guys quit? And do they get manhandled in some of those games? Because I think Paul Chryst against Ohio State is last year, one year, like they were just destroyed. Like, it didn't look like they belonged in the same field at Ohio State. So I agree with you. It's really like, do you look like you belong in the big games? And during the other games, does it look like this team fought all the way through? And I think those things, along with, like, I think 6 wins makes everyone feel really good, but even 5 will help keep them around. But those are the indicators I'm looking at, is like, what's the alumni base? What's the NIL money? What's all that money coming in? What's the fan, like, the fans matter in this, because it's really getting like apathetic, where they're kind of like, whatever. Like, I talk to people now and they're like, I don't care. I don't even know if 3 players, like, you used to say you could name the quarterback. I feel only 75% of the fans can name the starting quarterback at this point.
Yeah, somebody asked me yesterday, like, who's the quarterback to? I'm like, wow, this was from someone who I thought would have known that question. Yeah. I think you're right. Like, the one thing you mentioned there that was really kind of the elephant in the room, Chris McIntosh is probably the one making this decision, right? I mean, he's the one that brought Luke Fickell in. Like, he talked to Colton Bartholomew, my colleague out in Las Vegas for Big Ten Media Days, and it doesn't seem like he's wavering in his belief at all. And I talked to Chris after last season. I don't think I think he desperately wants this to work, and I don't think he has any doubts right now. Now, the pressure may come from above him or on the outside of him if he wants to change it. But, the other question that needs to be asked is, he was the one that made this decision. Is he the one making the next decision? Are you trusting him with the next hire if this one goes, terribly wrong? So there's a lot to consider here, which is why if you ask me right now, I think Luke Fickell is back for a 4th season next year. And that's somewhat based on, I think they're going to win at least 5 games this year.
Jim, the last question for me is honestly, even pairing these 3 weeks too, because we've talked about the non-conference slate, and we've got some optimistic teammates over here that believe that the Alabama upset could happen. We'll see what happens when we go to Tuscaloosa. But anyway, these first 3 weeks for non-conference play, what is that one thing that you could pinpoint that could show you that this team is ready to take that next leap coming into this season?
I think, like I started with this, that I think there's more good players and that you kind of want to see some great ones emerge. I think that would help me. If we can see some of these young guys, Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree, do it consistently in games at running back. Mason Riger's a transfer from Louisville. If he comes on and looks as good as he did in training camp, the Christian Allegros, the Rico Hellmans on defense, I think there's potential defensively to have some dudes emerge. And if we see that, and those guys putting up some decent TFL or interception numbers, the running backs putting up some good running numbers. If we see Billy Edwards be, not a great, but a really solid option at quarterback, and we see an identity start to form on both sides of the ball, I feel a lot better going into October. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to split those games in October, but I think what I want out of September is for some progress to emerge and some playmakers to emerge. And then you're like, okay, what I saw in camp is real, and it wasn't just a matter of a team going against itself. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And of course, you have to go bare minimum. You have to go 3-1. If you're 2-2 coming out of these first 4 weeks, then I think that's going to not only change how I look at this team, but I think Jim mentioned it. Like the fan apathy level is legit right now. There's fans that have checked out, and I think we might see that in Camp Randall Stadium the first couple of weeks just by the number of open seats. You're going to lose even more if you can't show proof of concept this first month of the season.
And Jim, the last thing I'll have for you is it also goes to the players. They might love Luke Fickell, and right now, obviously, you can be everything's good, everyone feels good. But I think we even saw this the first year that I think it was Washington State that if they had won that game, maybe things go different. It's just because then all of a sudden the players okay, what coach is telling me is true because we are looking like a functioning offense and we are winning. And if they come out and they sputter or they are 2-2. It's not even quitting, but then the players just that they lack that self-belief because they don't have the years upon years here at Wisconsin or other places of built-in success. So that's the other part of it. Forget even quitting. I think the players need a big confidence boost to just feel like the city's around them, the Badger fans are around them, and they can actually do what their coach says they can do.
No, I think that's real. I think a program knows how to win, right? Or learns how to win, and then you get in close games and you're confident. This program, has been pretty poor in close games. There's been a lot of games over the last 5 years where they've entered the fourth quarter in it, and the fourth quarter has not gone well. And then the secondary point there is that it's been a while since this program has won a quote-unquote big game. I mean, you probably have to go back to 2021, that win over Iowa, I think, that's probably the last signature victory. That's a long time. That's 4 years ago, 4 seasons ago. So I think you're right. I think they need to, as much as we need to see proof of concept, I think they need to see proof of concept. And if you start playing well, maybe the ball gets rolling back in the other direction. You build some momentum and you start to form a belief that, yes, we can compete with these teams again. And then, maybe even beat them. So I think you're right. I think you nailed it, that there needs to be, for their own good, there needs to be some progress.
Jim Polzin from the Wisconsin State Journal and Badger Extra. Thanks for joining Jump Around.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks again to Jim Polzin. Jim Rutledge will be back next week. And, man, what a show we have ready to go for you. We are going to be, not to tease too much, but a Wisconsin legend is slated to join us next week. But man, what a week we are. We are ready to go next week for football. Wisconsin versus Miami of Ohio. As we get ready for Badger kickoff. Can't believe college football is already here. Again, Jim Rutledge will be back next week. I'm Pablo Iglesias on behalf of Riley Yauk 2 behind the glass of the Everlight Solar Studio. This has been the Jump Around, a Badgers dedicated show. We'll see you next week.